So today I'm with Dane Gregory, who's an IICRC-approved instructor up in Wisconsin. And Dane, you've been there a few years?
I've been in Wisconsin about 42 years, Jeff, after leaving Chicago and never looking back.
Yeah, so if you're like me, you probably haven't left your home state in a while.
I haven't left my home state in quite some time, as a matter of fact. For those of us who travel a lot, Jeff, I know you're on that same train as I am. This is a little different right now to
Yeah.
be home for almost 2 months, which is very unusual for me.
Yeah, it's good and different for sure. But so are you doing some online training or what's your plan?
I've actually done one online class so far with stone masonry and tile, and
Okay.
I've got 3 more set up over the next 3 weeks, 2 carpet cleaning and 1 SMT class. So I'm getting used to being in my studio, as I say, but
You're going to be a movie star
not probably.
or something like that. Well, listen, Dane, I know you're a busy guy. So what I want to talk about today for a few minutes is an article that you've written, a Q&A article. You know, we asked the questions and you answered them. That's going to be the IICRC technical tip in July for
Okay.
Cleanfax and Cleaning and Maintenance Management magazine. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to do a preview. You could share some of the highlights of what people can look for in that article. So one of the things that I thought was interesting was the differences between ceramic tile and stone, because the article's on a Q&A on tile and stone. How important is it to know the difference? Is the cleaning different?
Well, the cleaning isn't necessarily different, but the detergents you may use on it could be. And so you want to make sure you're identifying what you're working on. All of the materials that we include in this grouted format are going to be of earthen material. Whether the earth pressed it or whether they pressed it in a factory, you're all going to have earthen materials, clays, feldspars, other types of minerals. But the man-made product is going to be finished in a certain way that you're not going to have nearly the risk factor with it. You're going to have a glass coating over the top, or it's going to be of a mineral type that will not etch or have any type of damage easily to it. The natural stone side, because the earth is producing it, there were no manufacturing specs. And so because of that, you have situations where you can use the wrong detergent or the wrong product, and you can cause some serious damage to it. So you definitely want to know which one you're working on.
Well, that makes sense. Here's another question that you answered about typical challenges with cleaning and maintaining ceramic tile and stone. And one of the things you mentioned was the biggest challenge is customers wait too long to have cleaners come in and take care of their floors. How long is too long?
Well, boy, I wish I knew the answer to that one.
Well, make something up.
In carpet cleaning, for example, I find that the average customer waits about 5 years. Now, I know that there's people who do it way more often than that, but there's another group of people that don't do it at all. With the tile, because it was sold as a maintenance-free product to the consumer doesn't believe that it needs any maintenance because it soils so gradually, they don't notice that their grout may be getting a little bit darker in the traffic areas, or they're sweeping some things in. So the biggest challenge not only is the fact that they wait too long, but they use the wrong product on it. They don't rinse that product off, so they have situations where they're using a Lysol or a Pine Sol or a simple green or something like that to give it a heavy duty clean. And what ends up happening is that they're leaving that residue behind. And so that residue is attracting more and more soil. So by the time we see it 10, 12, maybe even 15 years after install, we've got a huge soil load to deal with. And so we've got really no choice but to go to restoration chemistry just to deal with the soil load. And now that becomes an issue because what do they have adjacent to that floor? Do they have stainless steel appliances that we can't overspray? Do they have custom cabinetry? Do they have, other things that are going to be in the way that cause us to have put up more protection devices or move more product out of the area so that we don't have to worry about that? So it becomes just a multitude of things that can go wrong.
All right, good advice, good information. You mentioned grout. Now that's a hot topic, and it's a big part of your article. So, I've gone into buildings, facilities, and I'm amazed that the around the perimeter of a room is a different color than what's in the middle of the room. So that's a nice
way darker. Yeah.
So what advice do you have about the grout? Tell us some about that.
Well, there's three basic grout types that people deal with, and two that we'll focus on here, because nobody really uses the third one unless it's very specific areas. But the cement-based grout, which is by far the most popular, what everybody has to realize is grout is not a singular product. Grout is an on-site manufactured product, and so every batch of grout is going to be a little bit different. The grout itself is mixed on location with that water from that building, so what are the minerals they have in there. The mix rate is sometimes very different from place to place, because if you've got someone who doesn't understand that you're making a cement mixture to form concrete, and you have to have that recipe exactly precise or it won't form the type of concrete that you're looking for. And so what ends up happening is they add too much water, which creates several problems for us 15 years down the road. You've got much larger pore structure now because more water had to evaporate out. And B, you have an unsturdy or um, not a really strong joint because it's already only 3/8 wide and 3/8 deep on its best day. So that tiny little ribbon can be blown out easily with pressure tools or something like that. It cracks very easily. Was the installation put in correctly around the grout? Where the tiles back buttered so they're firmly set in the mortar bed. If they're loose, they're going to crack that grout. And then we come in with a cleaning tool that might be 1,000 or 1,200 psi, which is what the salespeople are telling us, and we're going to start blowing grout out of the floor. And so that's one of the biggest things that I see is, they don't test that grout before they start, and they end up having gaps in it or hairline cracks that they didn't see. And of course, we get blamed for that because we're the last person on the floor. So I would really, tell professional cleaners, take a little bit of time before you start to make sure that what you're working on is going to hold up through your process.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to be buying a floor or
No.
redoing some grout.
Well, grout is really difficult to match on location, because the key thing, if you have to do it, if you ever find yourself in that situation, make sure you match it dry, not wet, because wet looks very different. So make sure you're drying it out before you put it in.
Okay, good stuff. One other question that is in the article that people can look forward to is what you recommend as far as planned maintenance programs. Now, we just talked about 15 years between cleaning, or maybe 15 years before a pro is called. But, if a cleaner has the ability to talk to a customer and set the program, what would you recommend for that?
Well, I would recommend that they talk to the client about what they're going to do on a daily or weekly basis. Who's going to be doing it? Is it going to be themselves, or they have a staff that comes in, maybe another contractor, or maid service, or housekeeping group like that, and find out what kind of products they're going to be using. To make sure you get them an actual pH neutral product, and then B, make sure that on a regular or interim basis, where somebody's coming in with some sort of brushing tool or other device like that, because the grout typically forms a valley, and so we got to scoop that valley out every once in a while, and that's what most people don't really care to do. They want to use a flat tool on a floor that just isn't flat, and so having a tool to go down in that valley to remove that soil on a depending on lifestyle, fairly regular basis, is going to give their floor a much better look for a much longer time.
Yeah. All right. The last part of the article is your top 3 cleaning and restoration tips for ceramic tile and stone. Don't know if you recall what those are, but if you were to offer some top tips,
Sure, I'll give one or two. I don't think I remember all
we'll
three.
take one or two. Go ahead.
But no, I think it's important that you find a really good product mix that you like to use. I think that works well in certain situations. But the key thing that I want everybody to understand, and I say a lot of this in my SMT class, is don't get hung up on using this heavy duty chemistry all the time, because you may not need to go that aggressive in that space. The concrete will release the soils much easier than a carpet will. So it's just a matter of making sure a good neutral cleaner, using our principles of chat, using that chemistry along with some heat, a little bit of agitation, and then taking a little bit of time on it, you may be able to release a lot of soils with neutrals. So that's the first big tip I'd like to give people is don't throw neutral away just because you think it's been a long time since they've had any cleaning done. Neutral done properly with the right amount of agitation and heat can do a lot more for you than you think. And then the second thing is when you're talking to clients, especially if the floor is newer, talk about a good sealer program to make sure the grout is well sealed. make sure that you get something in those pores that other liquids can't find their way into that space. Sealing will not keep the soil from adhering to it, but it will keep it from staining, and that's a really big thing. So if they just do, you know, the right neutral detergent with the right process and time spaces in between those, along with a good sealer, will be a great program for those clients.
All right, some excellent words of advice, and all based on, and much more in the article we have coming out in the July issue of Cleanfax and Cleaning and Maintenance Management Magazine, the IICRC technical tip. So Dane, as we wrap it up, anything you want to say about your schools or your company? Quick infomercial for you.
Yeah, sure. I appreciate that too. I do a lot of my work through the Aramco distribution channel, so they're doing a lot of the online classes with me. If you go to my website, danegregory.com, you'll see, you know, what we've been doing there. There's a couple of blog posts, whatever, and then there's some other things that are related to. They click on the online classes, and they can go to the sites where those are located. So, yeah, I'm really excited about doing the online stuff. I think it's a really interesting way to deliver information. And I'm just happy to be a part of that. I'm glad the IICRC allows it, and we can get certification that way. So, yeah, just check out the website, or, you know, hook it up on Facebook.
All right. Now, do you have some good jokes you'll still tell at your classes? Because I remember I've been in your classes before. You're pretty funny.
Yeah, I get a few of them in. It depends on which class. I get a few. It's hard not to get that direct feedback, though. So I try to do less and less of that when I'm live. But, you know, I've never been real comfortable in front of a camera, and I don't understand the difference between doing a live presentation and camera, but camera always seems to get me to freeze up a little bit. But after doing a couple of them, I feel a little more comfortable. So it is a little easier, and I you know me, I don't take myself all that seriously. I just take the information seriously that we're delivering, and I like to have a lot of fun with it. So I think, you know, you're going to be sitting in your chair in your house, and, you know, your dog's going to be barking outside, and, you know, you can't leave the location, and having a little bit of a light touch to it, I think, is going to be a nice thing.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to your future endeavors, and thanks again for the article, and we'll look forward to the next issue.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate being on.
Escape Wisconsin one day, okay?
I'll try to.
Talk to you later.